Depression. It's a mood, it's a state of mind, sometimes it's a sickness.
At the end of 2014, I started to become severely depressed. At this point in time, I didn't really understand it all that well. I had friends that were depressed or were going through something similar, but I still didn't fully grasp how much being depressed could take over your life. At the beginning of 2015, I was diagnosed with severe depression and severe general anxiety disorder, or GAD. I wanted to know how this affected people around me and also teach others how to best help themselves if ever they felt as if they were depressed. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, finally.
Have we got her answer the door?
No, it's fine. I'm just getting stuff.
Getting stuff on it.
Yeah.
Get home.
Yes. Oh, which two? This is my family. Funnily enough, I've known my parents ever since I was born. We met with them to discuss how my time of depression and anxiety affected them and whether or not it was immediately visible to them. My mum and dad met while they were in the Navy. My mum was a radio operator in Gibraltar, and my dad was a weapons engineer on the HMS Broadsword. When did you first notice my mood change, if you did?
I didn't notice it at all.
Okay.
You hid it very well, and the first I knew about it was when I went on the iPad and there was the doctors.
Yeah.
And so obviously I asked you why you were going to the doctors. I think you just hid things from us. So we didn't always notice. We knew you were moody, but we didn't know that it was more than normal.
Yeah. For you, what was the worst moment of my time with the depression and anxiety?
I suppose finding out that you were self-harming.
Before that, when I found out, and I had to come to terms with it that you were ill, and it wasn't. It could have been my fault, and it was those sort of things that go through your mind. They were the worst. That was the worst. Whenever you're a parent, you always feel that everything your children do, it has some way, you're involved in it, and it's something to do with you, and it's very difficult as a parent to let go of that feeling and let you be your own person. It's very hard, and it's one of the hardest things as a parent.
Yeah.
So, as far as I'm concerned, it's always my fault that you went through that bad time.
How did it affect you, sort of like overall?
Upset.
Heartbreaking, and you just want your little boy to be perfect. And life gets in the way, and you're not. And things happen, and yeah, it's really hard.
Having lived with me, going through the depression and anxiety, do you think you understand it more, or is it still a bit of a mystery to you?
When you say we lived through it, we didn't know, because you hid things from us.
Yeah.
So we didn't know the full extent that you were self-harming, that you were planning suicide, which I found out later. And
do you think that after I got the help that I needed, it had some sort of positive impact on me?
Yes, definitely.
I think you seemed happier. I still worry that you'll
We always do.
go back into that depression again. But I hope you recognise that now. I will look out for more signs that I think there were, in hindsight, I saw.
I think I got depressed because of I guess a like culmination of lots of different things. Like I was bullied quite a bit in school and breaking up with my girlfriend at the time. And it was just a lot of stuff all sort of collided into one massive pot, I guess. With bullying at school, it was just a lot of being called names and just out on my own, group-wise, just sort of like having to fend for myself. I'd also like broken up with my girlfriend at the time because she cheated on me a bunch, and she like made up this fake person and like catfished me. It just made me feel like a bit worthless, and like I guess at the time I was sort of like, oh, I can't, well, why would you do this? Like, I thought we were good, and I thought we had something good, or something like special, I guess. And then when I finally did break up with her, I sort of realised she was a bit manipulative, like emotionally. She'd just try and like turn things around so it was my fault rather than her fault. I started talking to another girl like online. We got close, and then she ended up sort of like just killing herself, and that kind of really messed me up. I guess because I'd like gotten close to her, and it was just suddenly she's killing herself, and I'm like sat here thinking, what the hell do I do? I guess that was the start of when I became depressed, and how it all sort of spiraled out of control into this like mess of depression and anxiety. I'd gone through like all of this pain of like kind of just wanting to die and just shutting myself out from the world. It was just really horrible, and I didn't go out that much. I just sort of stayed in my room and played PlayStation or something, playing like games that would kind of take me out of reality in a way, like a bit like Fallout. My lowest point had to be like all the self-harm and like thinking about suicide. I don't know, it just made me feel better, like, because I'd burn myself with cigarettes. I don't know, it's just like that feeling of being worthless and just kind of being, I guess, less than nothing in a way. In your own eyes, that is. I guess it was like a reason or a way to sort of like punish myself, I guess, for in my eyes being such a piece of shit. When it came to this like, I suppose, plan of suicide, my overall sort of like idea was just hang myself, and also like OD on something, just so it's like definitely done. If I did go through with it and somehow came out alive, I mean, that's one hell of a good job by the doctors, isn't it? Suicide's an escape for anyone who sort of thinks about it. For the people around them, it just moves all the problems onto them, and it doesn't solve anything. It just solves it for you. It is the most selfish thing you can do. With depression, it's like being in a dark tunnel. There's that light at the end that you can see, but it's just really far away. And every step you take, it's like that light also moves, maybe 2 more steps away. Just everything just feels really washed out and grey, and just almost like there's static noise over you at all times. You have to really endure it to get through. Itchen Bridge is an important landmark in Southampton. It's one of the more notable suicide bridges in the world, with 50 plus suicides, and Samaritans' help points have now been installed on the bridge. Suicide's a funny thing, not ha-ha funny, but sad funny. To think that someone feels so horribly and so bad that they feel the need to actually end their life, that they have truly lost all hope, is just terrible. I mean, killing yourself doesn't solve anything, it just moves the pain onto those you're close to. Even if you don't think you've got anyone close to you, someone will be affected by it. We met with Toby to discuss his views on mental health as a whole, and also to talk about a suicide attempt made by him around 2015. Tell us what you remember of the night where you tried to jump off the car park.
It just hit me all at once, where it was one of these shifts in my mood where I felt that at that point I really couldn't necessarily carry on anymore, and I ended up going up to the highest story of the car park near the Youlton train station, and I ended up slashing my wrist open, and I was on the edge at one point, and the next thing I knew, I was cornered by a response team of about 4, maybe 5 policemen. Next thing I know after that, I'm strapped down in an ambulance on my way to A&E to be assessed, and I've been sectioned under 1 through 6 of the Mental Health Act. It means that the emergency services will come out with a police escort, and they will assess the situation and take you out of it as immediate as they can, whether they have to restrain you or not. But it still means that something that happened 20 years ago has now affected my life for the rest of it.
How do you feel about the whole situation, overall?
It's one of those things where I think, why the fuck did I just not help myself? So and also it's just the emotional effect that it leaves you with your friends, and especially with my family. Coming back, I can't imagine what it must be like for my mother having to pick up her only biological son from a psychiatric unit and being told, oh, your son's been admitted to a psychiatric unit. He's tried to commit suicide.
The worst thing about mental illness as a whole is that it's difficult to actually imagine how bad it is. I first realised that I needed help when I started properly thinking about suicide and kind of wanting to die and all that sort of stuff. Maybe I should get some help or something, because otherwise it's all gonna go very wrong. When it came to getting help, I went to the doctors and I said, I'm feeling quite horrible and I want to die and that sort of stuff. And so the doctor said, talk to Healthy Minds, which is like a charity, kind of like Samaritans, but they're more linked to the NHS. And so I'd have phone calls every week with this guy John, who he'd give me pointers on how I can better myself. But yeah, we went over things like how to overcome anxiety and how to overcome your depression. But the thing that's important to know is that there's no cure for it. It's more you get these tools on how to cope with it, and then once you know how to cope with it, you can sort of stay out of being depressed or anxious all the time. It does hit you quite hard. You do end up getting trapped in your own world, I suppose. And then with the depression, it's more recognizing what makes you upset or what triggers you in a way. 1 in 6 people suffer from some form of mental health problem. If you or someone you know is suffering, please talk to your GP. Don't suffer in silence.